we'll be looking at Igcse biology past paper, and here we'll be looking at the May-June 2020 paper, and we're looking at paper 2.1, and this covered the extended aspect of the syllabus. So we're just going to have a quick walkthrough. This paper is actually a 45-minute paper, and it has a syllabus weighting of 1.5. So it's actually one of the most important aspects in your quest to achieve an A-star grade in IGCSE biology. So without wasting so much time, let's go through this 40 question within the shortest possible time. So question number 1. Question number 1 is this. Now, the question is, the diagram shows what happened in an experiment with plant seedlings. Yeah, you have light, you have the start of the experiment and the next day. So, however, the direction of light is in this, is from this direction. The arrow signify where it's coming from, and the next day you find out that the shoot of the plant has actually bent towards the direction of light, and this is an example of phototropism. And phototropism is a type of response, plant response, and in that case, the question now is, which characteristics of living things made the sibling to grow towards light? And if you remember your Miss Gren, Gren, so you know that actually this is the plant being sensitive to light. The next question is number 2. We have a rat. A rat has the scientific name referred to as Ratus ratus. And what do the two path name represent? Usually I used to tell my student the first one represent the genus, while the second is the species. And the genus always starts with a capital letter, while the species always starts with a small lowercase letter. So the answer to that question will be A. Thirdly, number 3, the diagram shows 2 guard cells. So this is guard cell 1 and this is guard cell 2. Now, which label part shows the cell wall? Obviously, that's D. This will be the cell wall. This will be the vacuole, and this here will be the cell membrane. So the answer to that question will be D. And while this represent the chloroplast in that case. So the diagram shows different level of organization in a plant. So looking at the level of organization, it starts from a cell. Level of organization starts from cell to tissue. From tissue we have organs. From organs to organisms, or organ systems to organisms. So here 4 is a root hair cell. From root hair cell we have the root hair tissue. Then we have the root before you have the organism, which is called a plant. So the level of organization in this case will be from letter 4 to 2, 2 to 3, then 3 to 1. So the answer to this question is A. Next is, we have, which diagram shows the appearance of a plant cell several minutes after it has been placed in a concentrated, so we are looking at a concentrated sugar solution. So this is osmosis. So what will happen if it's placed in a concentrated sugar solution? That means the solution has a low water potential. It has low water potential. And if it has a low water potential, that means the plant cell has a higher water potential. So water will move down the water potential gradient from the plant cell into the solution. So it will now make the content of the plant cell to lose water. So your answer here will be A, because that looks as if the cytoplasm it's losing high content of water. Now 6, plant cells are placed in a solution with high water potential than the plant cell content. What will happen? So if the solution has high water potential, that means water will move from the solution into the plant cell. So because the plant cell in this case have low water potential, and if it moves into the plant cell, what will happen? Direction of movement, it enters the cell. It enters the cell, and the volume of the cell will do what? It will increase because it gains water. So your answer will be B. Now, the diagram shows a section of a DNA with 4 bases. Identify the correct strand. Remember, A always join to T and C always join to G. So this will be C, this will be T, this will be G, and this will be A. So which strand follow that pattern? So C, T, G, A. The answer is A. The answer is B, sorry. Now they said the food testing solution shows a positive result when it turns from blue to purple. So that's test for protein, and for the test of protein you use a burette solution which changes color from blue to purple. Okay. Now, what's the definition of an enzyme? An enzyme is a carbohydrate. That's wrong. DNA, no. Fat, no. So obviously the answer is D, because enzyme is a protein that acts like a biological catalyst that helps to speed up the rate of metabolic reactions. Now, 10, an experiment is set up to investigate the gas exchange. So we are looking at gas exchange in aquatic plant. So the question here is, we have hydrogen carbonate indicator and aquatic plant, then light. So obviously the aquatic plant will be photosynthesizing. So what will happen? The hydrogen carbonate indicator solution is orange. So that means if it's orange, this plant photosynthesize, it will now release oxygen. So what color will the hydrogen carbonate indicator have as the experiment continues? It will change from orange to purple. So the diagram shows how the rate of photosynthesis varies with light intensity. So we have the 4 curves show different conditions at temperature and carbon dioxide concentration. So what you should know is we are looking at here, you have 30 degrees Celsius. This is the optimum. So the rate of photosynthesis here is high. So if you look at the rate from this point, this point, this point, and we have P here, they said what limits the rate of photosynthesis at P? So P here, the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius and the rate carbon dioxide concentration is 0.1. But at the optimum here, you find out that the rate of the temperature is 30 degrees Celsius and the carbon dioxide concentration is 0.2. That is where you have the optimum rate of photosynthesis. So obviously the limiting factor is that factor that it's not at its optimum to increase the rate of photosynthesis. So obviously that will be carbon dioxide and temperature. So let's see. Light intensity, no, because you find out that at this point light intensity can be a limiting factor, but once you get to this point you find out that the rate were constant throughout, so to be X. But carbon dioxide, it will be a limiting factor because it's not the same as the optimum, and also temperature. So the answer in this case will be C. Answer will be C in this case. So let me circle the letter C. Number 12. Vortex tube are set up as shown, which test tube contained the least carbon dioxide after 1 hour? So what you should look at in questions like this is the conditions surrounding the test tube. Here you have water, you have aquatic plants, you have aquatic animals also, and it's covered with a black polythene, so light cannot go into it. And if light cannot go into it, that means the aquatic plant cannot photosynthesize, and the aquatic animal in this case will respire also to release carbon dioxide. So you find that the carbon dioxide concentration here will be high, and we are looking for the one that will have the least. Here the plant is not photosynthesizing, so it's not using the carbon dioxide that is found in this solution. So the amount of carbon dioxide will still be high. Here we have light that is able to penetrate. The plant will be able to make use of the carbon dioxide that is available in the water and release oxygen. So there will be a high amount of oxygen here because it's photosynthesizing. But however, here there is no plant, so photosynthesis is not taking place. Only an aquatic animal, so which releases carbon dioxide through respiration. So the one with the least amount of carbon dioxide will be C. Now we have the activities of amylase is measured in four parts of the alimentary canal. Which two part has the most amylase? Obviously, amylase is found in the mouth and the upper part of the small intestine, which is the duodenum. So the answer is C. Now, biological washing powder can be used to remove stains on clothing. Yes. Now, which enzyme will remove stain from starch? So starch can be broken down by amylase. So starch can be broken down by amylase. Why fat can be broken down by lipase, and protein can be broken down by pepsin enzyme or the trypsin enzyme. So in this case, the one that will not make it soluble, the answer will be amylase for starch, lipase for fat, and trypsin for amylase. So the answer will be B. Question number 15. So the graph, let me reduce the size a little so it will fit in. We're told that the graph shows the rate of uptake of magnesium ion by two similar plants. So they are similar plants. Now, X and Y. The roots of each plant were placed in a range of solution. Each solution contained a different concentration of magnesium ion. Now, all other conditions were kept constant. So we have rate of uptake of ions and we have concentration of magnesium ions in external solution. So what is a possible explanation for the difference in the result of the two plants? Remember, every other conditions were kept constant. So plant Y has a fewer protein molecules for magnesium ion transport in its cell membrane. And we have plant Y has higher rate of respiration. No, plant Y have higher rate of respiration. No, there's no relationship between respiration and absorption of magnesium ion. Remember, magnesium is used to make chlorophyll, so it's more related to photosynthesis. Plant Y has more root hair cells. Remember, the question is all other they're both similar. So the root hair cell in plant Y have a lower water potential. No, when it has to do with water potential, then you know it's osmosis. And ions can only be absorbed through active transport. And active transport requires what? Protein carriers on the cell membrane. So the answer is A. Oh, sorry, we should be moving to question number 16. Now, what will increase the rate of transpiration in a plant? Now, an increase in humidity. Humidity is the water holding capacity of the atmosphere. So the amount of water in the atmosphere. Increase in humidity will lower the rate of transpiration. Now, an increase in the surface area of the cell inside the leaf. Increase in the surface area will increase the loss of water in a plant. So the answer in 16 is B. Now, which pathway is taken by blood in a fish? That's single circulation, and in single, that represents single circulation. Single circulation. And in single circulation, the blood only passes through the heart once to make a complete circuit. So it will be from the heart, usually to the gills, from the gills to all other part of the body, then back to the heart, back to the gills. So the answer will be C. Number 18, the diagram shows a section through the heart and its blood vessel. So obviously this is the pulmonary artery X, and it helps to take blood to the lungs for it to be oxygenated. So pulmonary artery towards the lungs, the answer is B. Now the next question is, when a pathogen enters the blood, the immune system uses different mechanisms to destroy the pathogen. The diagram shows one of these pathogens. So obviously X is Y will be all pathogen, it will be the antigen. X will be the antibody. So the antibody have complementary shape to the antigen. And so let's see, what's the question like antibody? The question is, which row describe the structures involved? Structure X. Structure X is an antibody, yes. Then X is made by lymphocytes. Remember, phagocyte help to undergo phagocytosis. So it's lymphocyte that produces antibodies and antitoxins. Y will be an antigen. So the answer is C. Question number 20. What is the approximate percentage of oxygen contained in expired air? Is 16, because the percentage of oxygen in we breathe in is 21%. So the alveoli is able to take 5 out of it. So you have 16 left. Now, next question number 21. The diagram shows an experiment to investigate respiration in yeast. Now, respiration in yeast is an anaerobic process. If it's anaerobic, it doesn't make use of oxygen. So it will be glucose will be broken down in the absence of oxygen to give you ethanol, or ethanol and carbon dioxide will be given out in the process as a gas. So the bubble of gas here will be carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide will change the when you want to test for carbon dioxide, you use lime water, and lime water will now become what? Milky in color. So if no oxygen is present in the glucose and yeast suspension, what we call ethanol will be produced, and the lime water will stay clear. No, the lime water will go cloudy and ethanol will be produced. So the answer to that question is B. Now, which row correctly completes the balance equation for aerobic respiration? 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of oxygen, so you need 6 molecules of water. So 6H2O plus this will give you 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, and glucose will produce with 66H12O6. So the answer will be Y will be this and X will be this. So the answer is C. Now, in healthy people, which substance is completely reabsorbed into the blood from the kidney? Completely reabsorbed is glucose. That's all. Now, the diagram shows the synapse. So first you should label this. W is the vesicles. X is neurotransmitters. Y will be the synaptic gap or cleft. YZ will be receptors. So W, vesicles, X, neurotransmitters, synaptic gap or cleft, then the answer is C. Now we have 25. Which row shows the action needed for the eye to focus on a distant object? Now, for the eye to be focused on a distant object, the lens need to be what? Thinner. And the suspensory ligament that connects to what? That connect to the ciliary muscles. Now, this will be the ciliary muscles. So what need to happen is the suspensory ligament will tighten, for the ciliary muscles to relax, for the lens to become thinner. So your answer will be D, 25. 26. The liver and the pancreas work together to control the concentration of glucose. Yes. So because why? The pancreas produces hormone called insulin. When the blood glucose concentration is high, the insulin will now help to convert glucose to glycogen for it to be stored in the liver. And when the blood glucose level is low, the pancreas will now produce glucagon, which will now help to convert the stored glycogen back to glucose. So which statement is correct? The answer to this question should be the liver converts small molecules of glucose to large molecules of glucagon. No. Now, the liver releases the hormone. No. The liver don't release hormone. The pancreas does not respond to no. The pancreas responds to a fall in blood glucose by increasing the release of the hormone called glucagon. Yes, correct. Now, the statement about the use of antibiotics. So using antibiotics prevent infections. You need to know the type of infection. If it's the cause, the pathogen, if it's bacteria, yes, but if it's not, it will not work. Now, using an antibiotic known to kill bacteria causing an infection, yes, this is absolutely correct. Now, using antibiotics only when needed, yes, we have to prevent it becoming resistant. Now, using antibiotics to treat viral infection, no, you can't use it because viral is a non-living thing and antibiotics disrupt cell structure and functions. Now, which practice will increase the chance of the development of antibiotic resistance? The answer is 1 and 4 because you only need to use it when needed and to treat bacterial infections. So, now, which description explains cross-pollination? Cross-pollination obviously is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one plant to the stigma of a different plant. That's quite straightforward. That's the answer. Now, the diagram shows the sperm cell, and we need to know which part contains the enzyme that digests the jelly coat of an egg cell. It's D because it contains the enzyme called acrosome. Now, which cell has a haploid nucleus? Haploid has half, and which is formed through meiosis, and it's only sperm cell. It's only gametes that produces it. So the answer is C. Now the diagram shows the chromosomes of 4 daughter cells of meiosis. So if it's 4 daughter cells of meiosis, that then remember it must divide first by mitosis to form 2 daughter cells, and the daughter cells will look exactly like the parent. So the daughter cells will now have 4 content in it. Now that 4 content, in this case, this will now break into this and this. This will also have the same 4 content, 2 large and 2 small, which will still break into this. So their parent will now be exactly like this, which will be 1 small, 1 large, another small, another large. So the question will be, which parent cell produce this cell? So this will be the parent cell, which will be. When damaged tissues are repaired, cells undergo division by mitosis. So mitosis to produce genetically identical cells. Meiosis only produces gametes. So for cell repair, it must produce exactly what was spoiled. So identical cell cannot be different. Now the graph shows the masses of 2 different types of tomato. So the tomatoes are different types, and these are their individual masses. So obviously this gives what can be concluded? Genes do not affect the mass of tomato. That's pure lie. Genes affect the phenotype of every organism. So no, this is wrong. Type 1 tomato shows continuous variation. Yes, because it gives a bell shape, and all of them have a particular mass. So there is no clear-cut distinct difference. Even type 2 shows continuous variation. So type 2 shows discontinuous variation. That's absolutely wrong. And type 2 tomatoes are sometimes smaller than type 1 tomatoes. So absolutely wrong. So your answer to this question will be B. Now, which adaptation may be present in a xerophyte? Xerophytes are plants that lives in a desert environment. So they can survive in environment that have low amount of water. So here we have leaves. It said leaves with small surface area and large number of stomata, little or no xylems, little or no xylem, and tissue. No. So leaves with small surface area and large number of stomata, they will lose high amount of water. So transpiration will take place. So that's not an adaptation. Little or no xylem, tissue. That's wrong. You need xylem to transport water because the plant needs water for survival. So that's wrong. With large surface area. Large surface area means it will lose high amount of water. Now, stomata hairs and rolled leaves. Rolled leaves and stomata hair, we close the stomata and the rolled leaves so that it will not be exposed for loss of water through transpiration. So it will be a form of adaptation. So the answer to that question will be C. 35 is the diagram shows a food chain in a rock pool. So this is it. We have this. So the question here, what will happen if the number of secondary consumers increase? Now, this is primary consumer. This is the secondary consumer, which is crab. So if the number of crab increase, two things will happen. If it increase, this wealth will decrease because more crabs will be available to feed on it. So this will decrease. That means this we also have high amount of food to eat because it feeds on crabs. So this population can actually increase. So what conclusion can we have? If this decreased, obviously the amount of seaweed will increase because there is less whelks to feed on it. Now, if that is the case, they said, what will happen if the number of secondary consumers increase? So these are all the possible scenarios. So there will be fewer crabs. No, because already crabs is the secondary consumer, so it will increase. Fewer seagulls. No, seagulls will increase because there's more crab for it to feed on. Fewer whelks will decrease, so the answer is C. Now, what is defined as all the population of different species? So different species living in an ecosystem forms a community. A. Now, what is the role of anaerobic respiration in bread making? In bread making, biotechnology, anaerobic respiration takes place when you add yeast and it helps the bread dough to rise. So it produces a gas called carbon dioxide that makes the bread dough rises. The answer is B. Now, they said a crop plant here, a crop plant has been genetically modified to make it resistant, so it's not resistant to herbicide. Now, what is the possible disadvantage of introducing this new crop plant? Now, loss of weed, reduced competition, that's an advantage. Some weed might become resistant to the herbicide. That's a disadvantage. So the answer to that question is B. 39 is which process in the nitrogen cycle is involved in the breakdown of amino acid in living cell? Now, breakdown of amino acid is deamination. Deamination is the removal of the nitrogen containing part of amino acid. It takes place in the liver. Now, here they said when a river is polluted by fertilizers, the following processes may occur. Increase aerobic respiration. Okay, so now what is the correct sequence of these processes? Now, once there is more fertilizers, that means algae will bloom, and algae in that case is the producer. So there will be increase in producer growth. So first is true. So our answer can be either C or D. Now, once there is an increase in algae growth, the next thing will be that that will now lead to increase aerobic respiration of decomposers. So if algae bloom, then there will be less light, and plants and some aquatic animals may die. And once they die, decomposers will feed on it. So that is when 1 comes in. So first will be 1. And once decomposers feed on them, it will now reduce the amount of oxygen that is found within the water. So it will be 2, 1, 3. Where is that located? Okay, that's C. So we are done with this paper. So please, I need you to subscribe to my channel. So next we'll be looking at paper 4, 1, 20, 2020. Then we'll now look at alternative for practical, which is paper 6.1. Hopefully we'll do that tomorrow. So I need you to subscribe. So once I upload a video, you get alerted and you watch and prepare for your exams.